Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, when I do this video in the morning, I usually get up. I've been up for an hour or two now, and I start going through all the news feeds, all this news stories, TMZ, and all that, and see what's going on and what I could talk about. And I wasn't going to talk about Britney Spears again today. I didn't think there was anything more to talk about. When I pick a story to talk about, when I pick a topic, it's usually when I'll realize that I have something in common. Like with yesterday's video where I talked about, I haven't looked at the views, I haven't looked at your comments yet, so I don't know how the video did or anything. And I came across a story this morning, and it's about a cop. It's in the dash cam taking out an ATV rider. But here's the thing, and the cop pulls in front of the ATV rider, and the ATV rider hits the windshield. The guy's in critical condition or in serious condition. But here's the thing, the guy was riding illegally on a bike path, heading for a bunch of families on bicycles. And I totally agree with what this cop did. So I'm still gonna do that video this morning. But then I came across this other video. And I'll have the links to this below. This is about Britney Spears. I'm gonna do the bike video after this. And oh, I hear the cops outside this morning. So I came across this story about Britney Spears this morning, and I wasn't really going to talk about it. You know, I'm not going to talk about Britney Spears all the time, but all of a sudden I came to I had a epiphany this morning. I'm serious, I did, when I was looking at her grossly misshapen, swollen ankle on her Instagram profile, on her Instagram post. And the link to that, I'll put the link to that right down below. It'll be right on top, so you can click on it and you can see she's talking about her grossly misshapen, swollen ankle. And as I was looking at this, I realized something, and this is why I'm going to talk about it. And not only that, what she says in this post about her mother. Like, I haven't really I'm not a mental health professional. I did have 2 decades of hard drug use and alcohol use. I was addicted for over 2 decades. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. I've been clean and sober for over 17 and a half years. And all of a sudden I realized something, and that's why I'm making this video. Let me talk about that first. So you see her, she posted this video of her grossly misshapen. It is so fat and ugly and purple and disgusting. And her big fat her little hot dog toes, little sausage toes. It's so gross, man. And she's saying how she did this, that she was doing a leap. Seriously, she says this, that she was doing like a leap across the living room in her suite at the Chateau Marmont. You know, it must be nice to be filthy rich and not, you know, do this kind of thing. And then there's another post down. There's another thing on TMZ where she's gotten a lot. I don't know her boyfriend, but she's gotten in more arguments that cops called in Las Vegas. I'll put that link down below too. Okay, so I'm looking at her grossly misshapen foot this morning, and I remember this. I twisted my ankle this bad, especially my left ankle. Okay, I've twisted it, I'd say over a dozen times. And I twisted it like this. I've rarely seen anybody twist their ankle as bad as I used to. Like, I would hear it. Like, I would just, I'd lose my balance or something, and I'd hear it crack. I'd actually hear the ligaments crack, like tear. I could hear it. And, my ankle, it wasn't broke, but it would twist and it would swell up just like Britney's. And until I saw this picture, I have never seen anybody else have such a badly swollen ankle as I used to get. The doctor, if I went to the doctor, they'd put me on crutches. There wasn't much they could do. They put an ace bandage on it and put me on crutches for a couple of weeks. And back on St. Patrick's Day, I talked about going to the St. Patrick's Day parade like 2 decades ago and having a twisted ankle. Like, if you go back to St. Patrick's Day today, this year, I talked about that. And this was one of those times where I was trying to cross the streets in Manhattan, cross the traffic without getting run over by cabs back 2 decades ago with a twisted ankle. Anyway, and it used to bruise. Like, my toes would turn purple in between the toe. You could see where the blood would sink down, like the broken blood vessels, and the blood would sink down into the bottom of my foot. It was horrific. And this happened over a dozen times easy. But here's the thing. that I realized this morning, and I had not realized this until I saw Britney's picture this morning. I have not twisted my ankle once in the last 17 and a half years, not even a little bit, since I've been clean and sober. Seriously, and I am way more active. I'm older now. So you figure I twist my ankle more, I might be more unsteady, I'm almost 50, I'm almost 60 years old. 58 years old. And I'm way more active. I'm riding my bike, I'm walking, I'm on the treadmill, and I have not twisted my ankle in 17 and a half years since I quit drinking and using. And that made me realize this morning, what was Britney doing in this hotel room? She was drunk. She was drinking, So this is probably plays a big part in people twisting their ankles. This hadn't even occurred to me. I mean, it's probably not a big deal to you guys, but being clean and sober and everything, all of a sudden, it used to be a big deal in my life. Like I would regularly, like every year, I would twist my ankle badly, and I'd be on crutches. And I didn't even realize it until I saw this picture. I was like, oh my God, that hasn't happened to me in 17 and a half years. And I'm way more active in the last 17 and a half years and older, therefore, theoretically, I guess you get weaker as you get older. Your ligaments get more, what did Bam Margera call it? Dried out rubber bands. Well, at least he said his did. Anyway, so, maybe drinking does play a big part in accidents like this. That's my epiphany that I had watching her video this morning. Okay, there's something else I want to talk about, and this is ridiculous. I really haven't voiced my opinion too much about her mental health state because I'm familiar with addiction. I know about addiction. I know about it all too well. But mental health, like back, I told people this before. When I first went into detox, I've been in and out of detox and rehabs. I was in and out 13 times in lockdown rehabs. Over 13 times until I finally got clean and sober. And I remember a doctor saying to me, he says, he told me he had to figure out if I had my mental health condition first and I used drugs to treat it, to self-treat, or if I started experimenting with drugs first and that caused like my depression and tendencies to self-harm and stuff like that. So the doctor had to determine which came first, like the chicken or the egg kind of thing with me. Anyway, she talks, this post, this is going to be in her Instagram link down below. And she's off her freaking rocker, because she blames her mother. Not only that, I can't imagine ever saying I hate my mother. That's the worst, especially with Mother's Day coming up in exactly 2 weeks from tomorrow. And what Britney Spears says in this Instagram post, I don't care what her mother's done, man. Your mother gave birth to you, Okay, so this is what she says. The link to this will be right down below, so you can watch the video yourself and you can read this yourself. The link will be right on top. Britney Spears. I know my mom was involved. ! I haven't talked to her in 6 months, and she called right after it happened. Before the news being out. This was talking about her at the Chateau Marmont. That her mother called before TMZ, even before anybody reported it. I was set up just like that's what she says. She says she was set up. So somehow her mother caused her to run around and twist her ankle in her hotel, in her room, and her mother somehow sent the paramedics from thousands of miles away in Louisiana. I was set up just like she did way back when! ! I wish I had grandparents! ! I can't stand her! I can't stand her. Oh my God! Right before Mother's Day, she says she can't stand her mother. That's just a terrible thing to say! ! 3 exclamation points. I honestly don't care. I will say it! ! Psst. This man is wonderful! ! He's like a father to me, and he got me through last night! ! I adore you and admire you, Mr. Matthew! ! exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation. But she doesn't use periods. It's always three. I've never seen a button where you, is there a button where you could just hit and you get 3 exclamation points? Because that's what it looks like. I don't know who this Matthew dude is that she adores and looks at as a, that's got to hurt her dad too. So she adores this guy, and he's like, she says he's like a father to me. So she grossly insults her father and her mother in this post, and insinuates that her mother set this all up. Somehow she thinks her mother set her up, like somehow had, was the cause of her getting drunk and leaping through the whole living room hotel. That's her excuse. That's how she says she twisted her ankle. And the paramedics showing up right up at the door. It was all mom's fault. Geez, look, I live in Connecticut. I'm not close to Hollywood, but I'm guessing TMZ probably pays for stories. And who would they pay for stories? Probably people that see the stars a lot, where stars hang out and do secret stuff, like hotels, like the Chateau Marmont. TMZ and other paparazzi probably shell out a couple $100s, a couple $1,000s for stories or pictures with people that regularly see stars. Makes sense, doesn't it? So as soon as there's a lot of noise coming from up in the Chateau Marmont, somebody gets on the phone with TMZ, says, something's going on up in Britney. Britney's running around half naked with pillows and blankets around her, all drunk. And TMZ and the paramedics show up. Doesn't that make a lot more sense than her mom somehow setting this all up from Louisiana? Yeah, she needs help at this point. Anyway, that's why I wanted to make this video. I hadn't realized. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. It might not be amazing to you guys. I hadn't twisted my ankle in almost 18 years since I quit drinking. Another thing I noticed, I used to smash all my cars. I've owned like 30 or 40 cars. And the only cars that I had to sell, usually they were totaled or they got impounded, right? Up until I got clean and sober. And the last 2 cars I've owned since I've been clean and sober, not one dent. And I sold them. Geez, I wonder if that had anything to do with my drinking and drug using. You think so? These epiphanies I have, geez, maybe drinking and, all the drinking and drug using really wasn't good for, my life. Anyway, those are some thoughts. I'm going to be back late. I'm going to do that video now about the cop cutting in front of, this is in New Haven, Connecticut, not a couple miles away from here, where a cop cut off. The video is unbelievable. It shows the ATV rider skidding and smashing right into the windshield. And it's a horrific video, and I got to talk about that. Next video coming right up after this one. Have a good Saturday.